friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to try setting myself a TBR for June, which is something that I don't normally do, but there are so many things happening this month that I think it might be a good idea to limit my choices so that I can actually accomplish the things that I want to this month. Let's just hop into the TBR. So the first book that I want to read this month is Bailey's Cafe by Gloria Naylor. This is the patron drop-in book club for June. I'm hosting a live discussion for this at the end of the month on Saturday, June 26th. The book club is available to patrons at all tiers. I am especially excited for this book because I love the Dark Tower series by Stephen King, which is a book that sort of posits that various fictional worlds exist in different planes of existence and all come together in this one pivot point, this one focal point of the Dark Tower. And so we have characters from various wheres and whens, people from various wheres and whens meeting in this one place. Bailey's Cafe is apparently a supernatural cafe that draws in people from various wheres and whens. And I am so excited for this. Absolutely thrilled. Like, the 3 books that were in the poll this month were all phenomenal. Like, I would have been jazzed to read any of them. This, especially with the Dark Tower interest, has definitely piqued my interest and I am so excited to get to this. Speaking of the Dark Tower, the next book on my TBR is Song of Susannah, which is the 6th book in the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. The weekend before Gloria Naylor's Bailey's Cafe, I am hosting the live discussion for Song of Susannah. It's the 6th book in the Dark Tower series. I can't really spoil it. This one is focused on Susannah Dean. I remember this being one of my favorite books in my original read-through of the series, so I'm hoping that it lives up. Yeah, so there's not that much to say about the Dark Tower series, just that I'm continuing to read it, and because I'm hosting live shows for both of these are happening. The next book that I want to read this month is The Skin We're In by Desmond. This is about racism in Canada, and this is my Works, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee's book club book. We're going to be discussing it in June, so I wanted to have this read. I am about at the halfway mark at this point, and I put it down because I had other things that I needed to finish and I still had a big window of time for the DEI book club, but I definitely want to have it finished so I can participate in the discussions for this at work. So far, this is very much looking at and breaking down the idea that racism in Canada isn't as bad as in the States. I think, our focus on American racism, like the exact same things that are happening in the States, that's happening in Canada too. And then also the tie-in piece of indigeneity, that Indigenous folks are also targeted racially. And there's this sort of myth of Canada being this place that's free of racism, it's not like the States, and that is very much not true. You cannot have a society that is built on racism, that is built on the genocide of the Indigenous peoples, and not have racism embedded at its core, right? Picking this up has been a good reminder because the American booktube community is so big and the American bookstagram community is so big. That's a lot of who I'm following. The recommendations that I receive are very American-centric, so it is, I think, important to read specifically about racism in Canada. And so I do want to prioritize The Skin We're In by Desmond. The next book that I want to read for a secret project that may or may not see the light of day, depending on how I feel about it, is In the Hand of the Goddess by Tamara. This is the 2nd book in the Song of the Lioness Quartet, which is one of my favorite pieces of children's fantasy literature. Holds a lot of nostalgia for me, and I have a big project in mind, as I mentioned in my ranking Tamara Pierce books video, but I have no idea if I can carve out the time to do it, and so reading the books is the first step. The Alana books follow a young girl who wants to be a knight. The catch is that women are not allowed to occupy this job, and so she masquerades as a boy and then a man in order to try for her shield to try and earn the knighthood title. So June is Pride Month and it's Indigenous History Month, and so I would like to prioritize Johnny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead. So Joshua Whitehead won the Canada Reads Prize this year. It's a very highly talked about novel this year. I believe he was the first Indigenous person to win. This is about a young two-spirit indigiqueer and Indian glitter princess. This is Joshua Whitehead's debut novel. I have read an essay by Joshua Whitehead that was phenomenal, that spurred me to pick this up. Johnny has 1 week before he must return to his home and his former life to attend the funeral of his stepfather. The 7 days that follow are like a fever dream. Stories of love, trauma, sex, kinship, ambition, and heartbreaking recollections of his beloved Cocoam. Johnny's life is a series of breakages, appendages, and linkages, and as he goes through the motions of preparing to return home, he learns how to put together the pieces of his life. Johnny Appleseed is a unique, shattering vision of Indigenous life full of grit, glitter, and dreams. I think it's only appropriate to pick this up this month, to prioritize it, especially because I impulse purchased it earlier this year after Whitehead won. The other book that I want to read for Pride Month is Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. So this is the conclusion, I think, of this loose trilogy of books set in this space. So set in this high school in this town. And I believe this is about a person who wants to go to prom in drag. To be honest, I didn't look into it that much because Julie Murphy is sort of an auto-buy for myself. Like I love that her books are inclusive and positive and like a warm hug. Like sometimes you just need a warm hug, and Julie Murphy, more often than not, delivers that. I have yet to have a Julie Murphy book that greatly disappointed me in any way. I just think it'll be fun to read this month. And I pre-ordered it and it arrived recently, so this is the perfect time to read it while I'm excited about it. If I have time, I would love to pick up one of these books by Eden Robinson. So I really loved Eden Robinson's Monkey Beach. I loved the first 2 books in the Trickster trilogy by Eden Robinson, had mixed feelings about Return of the Trickster, the 3rd book and the conclusion to the trilogy. I love her writing. I think she is such a talented and powerful writer. Like she can achieve so much in so little. Some authors, Tolkien, is somebody who will like describe every knot and wrinkle on a tree so that you can picture it, and Eden Robinson is not like that. She can perfectly characterize somebody in a sentence and like you can picture them, you know who they are. Like she's so good with words and precise, like cutting, detailed, vivid language. So she is a Hasla author. Blood Sports, which is about a cat and mouse relationship between 2 cousins set in Vancouver's downtown east side. Tom Bauer, a young man hardly innocent, has been caught up over the years in Jeremy's world of drugs, extortion, and prostitutes, while Jeremy, vindictive and vicious, either protects Tom or uses him, but always controls him. Added to the mix is Polly, a junkie 2 years clean, and Tom's girlfriend, the mother of his daughter. This lethal triangle shifts when men from the past who have a lot to lose reappear, and word gets out that Tom has been talking to the police. Suddenly, Tom and Polly are pawns in a much larger game with everything at stake. Robinson weaves an electrifying story of flawed, all-too-human characters living on society's margins and the choices they must make when pushed to the edge. It doesn't super sound like my cup of tea, but I trust Eden Robinson. The other book I have here is Traplines. This is a collection of short stories. Short stories are always hit and miss, but I trust that Robinson will have crafted a handful of tales in here that will capture my heart and my imagination. If there is more time, I would like to pick up the next book in the Monster She Wrote series. I believe this is the 3rd book. So this is Women of Weird Tales. Stories by Everil Worrell, Eli Coulter, Mary Elizabeth Councilman, and Greya Lespina. It's going to be a bunch of speculative fiction, horror fiction, weird fiction by women who have sort of been forgotten or out of print for whatever reason. I had some issues with the 2nd book in this Monster She Wrote series, Elizabeth Engstrom's Nightmare Flower. A lot of the horror hinged on ableist ideology. I'm a little bit worried that that is going to be a through line throughout these Monster She Wrote books. Disability is one of those things folks are only now starting to become more critical of it. I would be surprised if any of these books in the Monster She Wrote series were explicitly racist, explicitly homophobic, explicitly sexist, just given the nature of what the Monster She Wrote first book was trying to do. It was spotlighting women throughout the ages, women of color, especially recently, who had contributed to this genre in a significant way. We are probably not going to get something that is explicit in those areas because that's not as socially acceptable to do that anymore, at least without a like critical essay of like, this is sexist, but here's why this is foundational and why I think it's still important to read this. We're having a lot of disability activists critiquing disability as a shorthand for evil, for example, and I think within the space of weird tales, horror, we often see villainy and disfigurement, villainy and disability linked. I'm a little bit worried. I mean, I already own it, so I'm gonna give it a shot, but I will let you know. Because I don't know what's good for me, I am hoping that the audiobook for The Girl in the Tower, which is the middle book in the Winter Night trilogy by Katherine Arden, comes in from the library. And if that comes in from the library, that is gonna be my like walking to physio book, my puttering in the garden book, my light mindless tasks at work book, because I would love to reread that book so that I can finally conclude this trilogy. I anticipated this book so heavily and then never read the conclusion, and now I've sort of forgotten all of the important details, so I am rereading the trilogy. So I'm fingers crossed that that book comes in from the library this month and I can listen to that on the reread. Those are my plans. That is my June TBR, with the hopes that June is a relaxing month that allows me the time and space to gobble up a bunch of stories. Let me know your thoughts on any of these books in the comments down below if you have read them. If you are interested in joining the Patron Book Club, the link for that is in the description box as well. Patrons make these videos possible. They make these videos free for you to watch by tipping me. Their support makes it possible for me to justify blocking out time in my week to produce these videos. So thank you, patrons, for allowing me to produce this content. Thank you for your support. It does really mean a lot. I hope you are all staying safe. I hope you are well, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.